Hello there, and welcome to the Sleepy Scientist. Tonight, we step into a season of quiet transformation, a time when the world trades motion for stillness, warmth for clarity, color for softness. This is winter, a season of pale skies, silver air, and landscapes wrapped in silence. Winter is often misunderstood as a time of emptiness or absence, but in truth, it is a time of deep rest, hidden preparation, and quiet resilience. Before we begin, let your mind settle into a gently slowing rhythm. Imagine cool air brushing your skin, crisp and calm, while your breath becomes slow and even, floating out like small white clouds in the cold. And as we wander through winter's gentle mysteries, if these quiet journeys bring you peace, relaxation, or comfort, you're welcome to subscribe and support this channel so more people can find their way into this calm space. Now, let the noise of the day fall behind you, soften your focus, and allow the hush of winter to seep into your thoughts. This is the most relaxing facts about winter to fall asleep. Let's begin. Snow does something extraordinary to sound. It softens it. Freshly fallen snow contains countless tiny air pockets between its delicate ice crystals, creating a natural acoustic blanket. This structure absorbs higher frequency sounds, leaving only muted tones and gentle echoes. That's why winter forests, fields, and backyards feel so profoundly quiet. After snowfall, footsteps muffle, distant noises vanish, and the world seems to whisper. It is not silence as emptiness, it is silence as comfort. The winter night sky offers some of the clearest stargazing in the year. Cold air holds less moisture, reducing atmospheric distortion and allowing stars to shine sharp and bright. On a clear winter evening, constellations stand out more vividly against the dark Orion, Taurus, Gemini, each seeming closer and steadier. In the stillness of frozen air, light travels more cleanly, giving winter nights a crystalline, almost sacred quality. Frozen ponds and lakes do not freeze evenly. Ice forms first at the surface and thickens downward, creating layers that subtly expand and contract with changing temperature. This movement sometimes releases deep, echoing tones, creaks, moans, far-off booms, like the lake is speaking in long, drawn-out breaths. It's not danger, it's physics, the sound of shifting ice carrying vibrations across the frozen surface, like winter's own slow music. Winter shapes the air itself differently. Cold air is denser than warm air, meaning every inhale feels more substantial. Every breath has weight. This density allows scent to travel differently, giving winter smells their clarity: chimney smoke, pine resin, snow-damp earth. These aromas feel cleaner and sharper, as though winter strips excess away and leaves only essence. Snowflakes are born in clouds when tiny water droplets crystallize around dust or pollen. Each snowflake carries the memory of its journey: temperature variations, humidity shifts, collisions with other crystals. Their branching symmetry is not planned, it is grown. The hexagonal shape emerges from the molecular geometry of ice, repeating itself with quiet precision. Millions fall, and yet each one remains subtly different. Many animals do not simply endure winter, they change with it. Some grow thicker fur, some shift color to white or gray, and others slow their metabolism to conserve energy. Every heartbeat becomes measured, every motion efficient. Winter teaches living beings the art of minimal effort, moving only when necessary, resting deeply. and trusting nature's rhythm. Bare winter trees reveal the architecture of growth branches that were hidden by leaves, become visible as clean silhouettes against pale sky. The shapes of oak, birch, maple, and elm appear like living drawings, black ink sketches made from wood and time. In this leafless state, trees look honest, stripped of decoration, revealing bone and structure beneath. Icicles form when melting snow on rooftops refreezes as it drips downward in cold air. Layer by layer, the icicle grows its length, recording cycles of thaw and chill. The tip narrows as gravity draws water, freezing into clarity. When the sun touches them, light refracts through ice, transforming them into tiny prisms hanging from the eaves of the world. Winter wind behaves differently than summer wind. In cold seasons, the air near the ground is heavier, creating a muted gust that feels slow, steady, more grounded. Trees sway less wildly, grasses bend more softly, and the wind itself seems to move with a measured calm. Even storms feel quiet or heavy rather than frantic. Snow doesn't always appear white. Under moonlight, it takes on blue tones. Under sunrise, it shimmers gold. Beneath heavy clouds, it may appear gray or silver. Snow becomes a canvas for light rather than color reflecting the sky's mood. That's why winter landscapes can shift emotional tone so subtly. The snow is not simply snow, it is sky made solid. During winter, rivers often continue flowing beneath thin sheets of ice, creating a hidden world where movement persists beneath stillness. If you were to listen closely at the edge of a frozen stream, you might hear the muffled sound of water slipping through channels below a quiet hush, a soft gurgle, the distant murmur of motion beneath the frozen surface. It's a reminder that not everything that appears frozen is truly still winter, simply shifts some energies inward, subduing what is loud and leaving only the whisper of what remains alive beneath. Some animals enter a state of torpor or hibernation, where their heartbeat slows dramatically and their breathing becomes faint and spaced apart. A bear sleeping in its den may take only a handful of breaths per minute. As muscles relax, its senses dim, and its body becomes a warm vessel of suspended life. In this profound rest, the bear exists in a state similar to dreaming, deep, uninterrupted, timeless. Winter becomes an invitation to surrender into rest, rather than resist it. Frost patterns on window glass form through a delicate interplay of cold air, moisture, and microscopic imperfections in the surface. The ice crystals branch outward in fern-like shapes, curling and dividing as though guided by an invisible hand. Each pattern is unique, an ephemeral work of art that appears overnight and melts with the morning sun. Observing frost is like watching thought become visible, quiet, intricate, unraveling in silence. When the air is cold enough, one's own breath becomes a fleeting cloud that forms and fades in moments. This visible breath is more than vapor. It is the body greeting the atmosphere, offering warmth that dissipates gently. Watching your exhalations appear and vanish in the air can feel like a meditation. Each breath a soft offering to winter. Each inhale a moment of clarity. Each exhale a brief ghost of warmth carried away by the air. Beneath the snowpack, the earth does not freeze uniformly. An insulating layer forms between snow and soil, creating a subnivean realm where insects, mice, and small creatures move and forage in relative warmth. Here, winter becomes a gentle blanket rather than a harsh lid. Life continues in tiny tunnels carved through softened snow, sheltered from wind and predators. It is a secret world, a breathing pocket of hidden motion beneath a frozen landscape. Winter light at dawn, and dusk stretches out in long gradients rather than rapid transitions. Daybreak unfolds slowly, as though the sun must push gently through layers of cold air, illuminating the horizon in pale peach and icy lavender. The sunset lingers as well, fading with grace instead of abruptness. These extended transitions create a sense that winter lives between day and night, that twilight is its native hour. The crispness of winter air heightens awareness of space and distance. Sounds travel further, a dog barking miles away, a door closing in the distance, footsteps crunching across a frozen walkway. The air seems to carry these sounds without distortion, as though winter has cleared the atmosphere of unnecessary clutter. In this seasonal clarity, even faint noises feel meaningful, like quiet signals sent across a hushed world. Evergreen trees become guardians of color in winter, offering a steady, enduring green among fields of white and skies of gray. Their needles retain moisture, their branches bear snow, and they carry life through the season without pause. Standing among evergreens in winter feels like stepping into a sanctuary, a place where endurance hums quietly in every leaf and every stem. Winter invites reflection more than any other season. Shorter days draw people indoors, where light is warm and time seems slower. This encourages contemplation, memory, quiet conversation, and introspection. Winter becomes a season of inward turning, not only for nature, but for human thought, for emotional digestion, for gentle self-listening. The snow that blankets the world in winter contains within it the potential of spring moisture held in reserve, waiting to melt and nourish the earth. As winter deepens, it is easy to feel only stillness, but beneath the frozen crust, seeds lie ready, roots rest quietly, and animals conserve energy. Winter is not an absence of life. It is a cradle of preparation, where the future gathers strength in stillness. There is a remarkable phenomenon known as diamond dust, where microscopic ice crystals float freely in extremely cold air, sparkling in sunlight like suspended stardust. These tiny particles drift slowly, moving almost imperceptibly, catching light in quiet glimmers. Unlike snowfall, diamond dust does not fall. It simply hangs in the air, making the atmosphere itself shimmer. To witness it is to see the boundary between earth and sky dissolve, as though winter has invited portions of the heavens down into the air we breathe. Deep beneath the snow, roots of trees and plants remain alive, not frozen, but slowed. Sugars and nutrients circulate through them at a measured pace, like a heartbeat that pauses but never ceases. Winter transforms the underground into a chamber of conservation, where every cell holds back just enough energy to survive. The earth beneath becomes a slow organ, pulsing gently, resting deeply, waiting for warmth to return. Life does not disappear in winter. It breathes inward. In places where snow drifts form, wind reshapes the surface of the land into gentle dunes of frozen powder. These snowdrifts mimic desert sands, sculpted curves, smooth slopes, edges softened by motion. The wind becomes an invisible artist, carving shapes onto the white canvas with strokes of air. Days later, the drifts have changed, a gradual evolution of form that feels like a quiet conversation between wind and snow, spoken without sound. The moonlit winter landscape has a unique glow. Snow reflects lunar light so efficiently that nights can feel bright enough to walk without illumination. Shadows stretch crisp and blue across the ground, and objects appear softened and luminous. A winter night under a full moon can feel as though the world has been washed in silver, creating a nocturnal daydream where everything is visible yet muted. This gentle radiance is one of winter's quiet gifts, light that does not burn, only caresses. In winter, many bodies of water partially freeze, forming intricate ice formations at the edges, crystalline lace along the banks of rivers, delicate sheets on puddles, airy bridges across shallow pools. The ice records the history of cold in its patterns, each night's frost adding new structure, each warmer day creating subtle melt lines. These fragile ice borders do not last, yet their brief life carries an elegance that feels almost ceremonial. Across snowy ground, the tracks of animals become a script, a temporary language written in footprints. A deer's careful steps, a rabbit's darting hops, a fox's straight, purposeful line, each tells a story of movement in a quiet world. These tracks reveal behavior that is otherwise hidden: pauses, hesitations, sudden accelerations. Snow not only blankets it, records, it turns every walk into narrative. Human routines also transform in winter. People gather around warmth fireplaces, candles, blankets, shared meals. The season draws us together in ways that spring or summer never demand. Winter encourages closeness, physical and emotional, making connection feel natural and needed. In this season, the warmth of another person becomes felt more deeply against the surrounding quiet of cold. Even silence takes on different dimensions in winter. It is not simply an absence of noise. It is a presence of stillness. There is weight to it, texture even. Winter silence feels thick, padded, almost protective. It wraps around the mind like a soft cloth, dimming internal chatter as effectively as external sound. In winter, quiet is not a void, it is a companion. Many birds migrate away from winter, but some remain the resilient few. Chickadees, cardinals, crows, they stay through frost and snow, adapting their feeding and movement to survive. Watching a bright red cardinal perched upon a branch in a monochrome winter world feels like witnessing a spark lit against vast softness, a reminder that color persists even in the quietest season. Winter's slowness offers opportunity for contemplation that fast seasons do not provide. The world seems to invite you to match its pace, to reflect rather than rush. Thoughts stretch out in longer threads, memories surface gently, and decisions soften. It is as though winter creates a mental snowfall of its own, quieting the noise of the mind, leaving only a soft drift of calm awareness. In the depths of winter, frost can form on tree branches in delicate crystalline coats, growing outward in tiny spines and feathers. This frost appears when moisture in the air settles directly as ice, bypassing liquid form entirely. Each branch becomes adorned with lace-like formations that catch the faintest touch of light, transforming trees into quiet sculptures of frozen embroidery. Walking beneath them, it can feel as though nature has decorated itself just for nightfall, every twig and stem shining softly, every outline becoming gentle and magical. These frost formations last only until the next shift in temperature or the next gust of wind, reminding us that winter's beauty often exists in moments ephemeral, fragile, and breathtaking. On extremely cold days, water in the air becomes so dry and crisp that even everyday sounds take on a different timbre. Voices seem sharper, the rustling of fabric more pronounced, and the crunch of snow beneath boots crackles with a distinct crispness. This acoustic clarity emerges because cold air molecules vibrate differently, making sound travel with higher precision. Some people notice that their own breathing sounds louder in their ears, or that the clap of a door echoes farther. Winter doesn't mute all sounds. It removes background interference, allowing certain frequencies to emerge like clear tones on a clean instrument. Hibernating plants beneath the snow are not truly asleep inside seeds. Slow chemical signals monitor environmental cues. Certain seeds measure hours of cold, waiting until they have experienced a critical threshold of winter chill before allowing germination to occur. This ensures they do not awaken too early during a brief warm spell. The wisdom of winter is baked into the biology of life plants. Remember cold, respect it, rely on it. So beneath the white quiet, there is no ignorance, only intelligent waiting. An intriguing winter phenomenon occurs when warm sunlight strikes snow-covered rooftops, causing snow to slide off in smooth sheets and blankets. The snow sometimes leaves behind clean surfaces and straight lines, or it folds and ripples as it descends, almost like fabric. Watching these slow cascades can be hypnotic, like observing a glacier in miniature, a slow-motion surrender to gravity. It's winter, reminding us that even what seems stable is slowly flowing, and even what appears still carries deep movement within. Inside the soil, microorganisms continue working throughout winter, albeit at a slower pace. Bacteria and fungi digest organic material, releasing nutrients that will be available for plants in spring. Winter is therefore not an interruption of natural activity, it is a recalibration. Energy is redistributed not upward, but downward, where it accumulates as nourishment for the coming months. This hidden underworld labor means that while the surface sleeps, the earth prepares quietly beneath. Light snowfall can create a phenomenon called snow sparkle, where individual ice facets catch sunlight and produce pinpoints of bright, glittering light. These tiny flashes appear and disappear as one moves, each reflecting only for a fraction of a second. A blanket of snow under sun can resemble a field of stars. Spread across the ground, a celestial reflection flipped beneath our feet. Standing in such brilliance, one can feel suspended between heavens, light above, light below, all connected by a silent world of white. During winter, the human sense of touch also subtly changes. Cold temperatures stimulate nerve endings differently, making skin more sensitive to textures, the softness of blankets, the warmth of cups, the smoothness of polished wood. In winter, these sensations become meaningful and grounding. Comfort gains dimension. Warmth feels like relief. Softness feels like safety. And contact carries emotional weight. It is as though winter heightens the appreciation of simple, tactile pleasures. A flowing river beside a frozen field encapsulates winter's dual nature, part of the world enduring motion, part of it embracing stillness. The contrast is not conflict, it is harmony. Frozen and fluid become two expressions of the same element, water. Winter teaches that stillness and movement can coexist, that life may slow in one place and persist in another. In standing beside both, one can feel the rhythm of the season, a slow alternation between pause and continuation. Winter clouds often hang low to the ground, flattening perspective and creating a dome-like sky. This low ceiling makes the world feel smaller and more intimate, as though nature has drawn closer for the season. The horizon softens, distances compress, and even large spaces, fields, frozen lakes, city parks, feel enveloped in a quiet chamber. This close sky produces a comforting psychological effect. We feel enclosed, protected, wrapped in the season's embrace. And there are winter nights when the world feels almost ancient, when a hush lays over the land so complete that it seems to erase time. In such moments, the earth feels primeval and undisturbed, as though ages have passed without human presence. Snow-covered hills seem timeless, forests stand watch like silent witnesses, and the stars overhead appear as bright and unchanging as they were for ancestors thousands of years ago. In this expansive quiet, one may feel connected to something older than civilization, the enduring pulse of nature's cycles. There is a quiet intelligence in how winter allocates warmth through space. Snow acts as an insulator, covering the ground in a layer that traps heat and stabilizes temperature beneath it. Under a heavy snowfall, the soil beneath may remain around freezing, even when the air above drops to severe cold. This means roots are protected, burrowing creatures live in buffered comfort, and life continues in a softened climate just below the surface. To kneel and press a hand beneath snow is to feel this difference, a gentle pool of preserved warmth hidden under a blanket of white. Winter teaches us that what appears coldest on its surface may conceal unexpected comfort beneath. In winter forests, the sound of trees shifting can be felt as much as heard. When wood contracts in intense cold, branches and trunks emit deep, resonant pops, not violent, but firm, as though the trees are settling themselves. These sounds travel through the quiet air like the ticking of a giant clock. It's the forest adjusting to the season, creaking into its winter posture. Each sound marks a conversation between wood and ice, where the tree acknowledges the shrinking molecules of freezing water, accepting cold with stoic patience. When snow accumulates on rooftops, fields, and hillsides, wind gradually sculpts it into smooth, undulating forms, gentle slopes and curves without edges or corners. Sharp angles disappear, replaced by soft continuity. The world seems to lose its hardness and become plush, even when frozen. This smoothing effect changes the visual landscape, inviting the eye to rest rather than analyze. Winter's soft geometry asks the mind to drift, not focus, to float, rather than fixate. At dawn, on very cold mornings, when the sun rises and touches frost-coated surfaces, ice crystals refract light into thousands of tiny rainbows. The colors are subtle, soft reds, gentle blues, pale greens. These microprisms transform simple winter fields into muted tapestries of reflected sky. Each crystal becomes a painter of light. If one walks slowly through such terrain, colors seem to shift inside the frost, the landscape breathing light in and out. Winter reveals that beauty does not have to be loud to be profound. In some northern regions, the snowpack emits a faint scent, a quiet sweetness mixed with mineral notes and distant pine. The air feels cleaner, emptier of dust and pollen, holding only the essence of cold. Some people describe winter air as tasting sharp, as if clarity itself had a flavor. Breathing deeply in winter can feel like inhaling simplicity, a sensory cleansing where the mind takes in cool purity and releases inner clutter. When lakes freeze deeply enough, the ice can form long cracks that propagate across the surface. These cracks do not merely form, they sing. Vibrations travel through them, producing tones like twangs or whistles, sometimes described as otherworldly or cosmic. Standing beside such a lake, one might hear upward sweeps of sound or long sustained hums traveling across the frozen surface. Winter ice becomes a natural instrument, the earth playing slow music in the register of dreams. Snow has an exceptional ability to capture light at night, allowing landscapes to appear softly illuminated even in moonless hours. Streetlights glow farther, reflections multiply, and shadows stretch gently. Walking through a snowy neighborhood at night can feel like strolling through a dream of memory where familiar shapes are softened and reality seems slightly lifted. Winter turns darkness into twilight, offering comfort rather than concealment. The interplay of heat and cold in winter gives rise to mist and fog in profound ways. When warmer air moves over snow or ice, moisture condenses into thin clouds that hover close to the ground. These mists give winter mornings an ethereal quality, the world emerging in layers rather than all at once. Trees rise slowly out of haze, houses appear like shapes drawn in watercolor, and movement becomes spectral. It is as though winter partially dissolves the world and remakes it in softness. In snowy fields, one may find patches where the snow is pocked with tiny holes, evidence of animals warming the ground from below. The heat, escaping from their bodies, slightly melts the underside of the snow, creating little chambers where mice or voles have slept or moved. The snow remembers their presence even after they have gone. Winter leaves gentle footprints, not only on the surface, but beneath it, ghostly imprints of life held briefly and then released. Over time, repeated freezing and thawing cycles create minute shifts in rocks and soil, a slow motion churning of the earth. Winter helps break down stone into sediment and sediment into soil. The season that seems barren is actually actively shaping the physical world, grain by grain. Winter is not only a pause, it is a sculptor, a geological force, a patient and powerful agent of change, working quietly in deep time. When winter arrives, streams that continue flowing beneath ice do so with a kind of determined grace. The water does not rush, but glides. Under layers of frozen surface, it moves in channels shaped by temperature and pressure, navigating through liquid corridors hidden from view. If one could peer beneath the ice without breaking it, they would see a world of softened motion. Water folding around obstacles, drifting over smooth stones, carrying particles of silt with patience rather than urgency. Winter simplifies movement into a kind of surrender. The stream flows not by force, but by quiet persistence. Snow can preserve the memory of sound. In some conditions, footsteps taken on soft, powdery snow can echo faintly, not as sharp clacks, but as soft compressions of air beneath the crust. The sound is strangely internal. It feels like hearing through your bones rather than your ears. Each step becomes a tactile, acoustic half-sensation, half-murmur. Walking alone in such snow can give the impression that one is accompanied by their own quiet shadow of sound, a personal snow music that only the walker perceives. During the coldest days, bare trees appear motionless, but inside their bark, sap still moves not freely, but in slow pulses, thickened by cold. It migrates deeper into the core, protected from freezing by dissolved sugars that act as natural antifreeze. This internal flow is nearly imperceptible, yet continuous. A tree in winter is not dormant like a stone. It is alive in cautious conservation. It is a living monument of patience, carrying memory of summer light through long nights of frost. Some birds that remain through winter adopt different ways of resting, fluffing their feathers to trap insulating air. Each feather becomes part of a layered down blanket, creating warmth by holding stillness. At night, you may see them perched with heads tucked beneath wings, breathing deeply in rhythmic cycles. Their tiny hearts slow, just enough to save energy, just enough to carry them through the cold. They do not resist winter. They fold themselves into it, embracing the quiet as part of their survival. Winter sunlight reflects differently off frozen surfaces, sometimes creating halos or pillars of light in the atmosphere. These luminous effects arise from ice crystals suspended in air, aligned in ways that redirect sunlight. The result is subtle arcs around the sun, or vertical shafts of glowing whiteness that seem to connect heaven and earth. Observing such a phenomenon feels like witnessing a message not meant for language, a visual hymn sung by frozen air. Winter thus reveals the sacred geometry of light. In deep winter, the earth stores moisture like a held breath. Frozen ground prevents evaporation, preserving water in its crystalline state. This retention becomes crucial for spring when thaw releases moisture back into soil, feeding awakening roots and nurturing early growth. Winter is therefore not just rest, it is reservoir of water and peace. The cold earth becomes like a cup holding clear stillness until warmth returns. There is a unique feeling of solitude in winter, landscapes not loneliness, but a kind of cosmic privacy. Walk through a snow-covered field, and you may feel as though you are the only consciousness present, as if the world has briefly lifted its attention away from itself and allowed you to move through its pauses. This sensation, gentle and humbling, is winter's introspective gift, the awareness of one's own presence amid a quiet world. In forests where snow weighs down branches, trees adapt by bending gradually under the load, roots grounding deeper, trunks distributing stress through flexible fibers. This is not weakness, but wisdom. Rather than resisting, the tree accommodates. When the snow eventually melts or falls away, the branch slowly rises again, like waking from a deep stretch. Winter shows that strength may express itself through flexibility, not rigidity. In human communities, winter has historically been a season of storytelling. Nights grew longer, firelight became central, and people gathered indoors to tell tales, pass history orally, imagine, remember, and share. Winter shaped culture through narrative, through memory, myth, and intimate conversation. Perhaps that is why winter carries a nostalgic emotion today, because generations before us filled these nights with voices, laughter, and whispered tales. And in the deepest part of winter, when frost grips the world, something astonishing happens within the mind. Thoughts slow, patterns calm, and the imagination becomes soft. The external quiet seeps inward, inviting a mental rest. Winter holds a mirror to the psyche, saying gently, "You may pause now. You may breathe slower. You may soften." It's a season that gives permission to stop striving, to nestle into stillness, to find peace in the embrace of quiet. There is a quiet marvel in the way winter transforms the sense of distance. In summer, the air is alive with haze, pollen, humidity, heat, all of which blur the horizons slightly. But in winter, the cold filters the air until it becomes almost crystalline, revealing faraway tree lines and distant hills with surprising clarity. A barn on a far ridge seems closer than it truly is. The outline of a mountain seems sharper, its edges more pronounced. The world appears more honest, more defined, as though winter has polished the air itself. This visual clarity creates a feeling that one is seeing further, not just with the eyes, but with a calm mind. During winter storms, when snow falls thick and heavy, the world outside becomes temporarily unreachable. Roads disappear, landmarks blur into white, and familiar pathways are erased. In these moments, nature gently asserts its presence, reminding us of power, not in violence, but in quiet supremacy. The snow doesn't crash down, it simply accumulates, flake upon flake, layer upon layer, until it reshapes the navigable world. This soft domination humbles the ego and invites surrender, a recognition that sometimes the wisest action is to stay indoors, wrapped in warmth, listening to the hush against the window. When icicles form along eaves and ledges, they grow downward slowly, capturing the memory of melting during the day and refreezing at night. Each icicle holds within its frozen layers the imprint of dozens of temperature cycles, a physical diary of fleeting warmth amid persistent cold. And when sunlight filters through these lengths of ice, they glow with a cold fire, refracting brightness in narrow columns. Looking through a row of icicles on a quiet winter afternoon feels akin to gazing through a corridor of frozen time, peaceful, still, ancient. Animals that do not hibernate but endure winter, like deer, elk, or wolves, move differently in the snow. Their steps become quieter, more deliberate, conserving energy with each placement of the hoof or paw. Watching them cross a snowy ridge or frozen meadow is like witnessing a slow dance of survival, each movement measured, each breath purposeful. Winter demands efficiency, and in meeting it, animals embody a grace born of necessity. They do not fight the season, they merge with it. In winter, the color palette of the world simplifies whites, grays, muted greens, soft browns, pale blues. Without the riot of spring or the saturation of summer, these subdued tones allow the eyes to rest. Subtle details emerge: the grain of bark, the texture of stone, the delicate edges of snowdrifts, the softness of distant clouds. Winter's aesthetic is one of understatement. It whispers rather than sings. This visual quieting mirrors an inner quieting. The mind sheds excess, focusing gently on what remains. The relationship between winter and human memory is unique. Cold air, seasonal scents, certain sky colors. These stir recollections from years long past. A certain pale sunlight might remind someone of a childhood winter morning. The scent of wood smoke from a chimney might evoke evenings in an old home. The crunch of snow may trigger recollections of quiet walks or playful moments from decades ago. Winter becomes a time when memory and environment intermingle, blending past and present in delicate harmonies of feeling. Snow falling at night creates a sensation of suspended time. The flakes, drifting in darkness, catch ambient light from street lamps or windows, and the world appears to move in slow motion. Observing snowfall in silence is an experience of profound tranquility. Each flake is silent, but collectively they produce a presence, a density of atmosphere. Watching them descend feels like watching thoughts descend into sleep one by one, settling softly on consciousness until the world feels padded and peaceful. In winter villages or neighborhoods, there is a comforting feeling that comes from seeing warm lights glowing from windows, small islands of golden radiance in a sea of cool tones. These lights shine as symbols of interior warmth, life within walls, communities gathered around tables or fires. From the outside, they feel reassuring, quiet proof that warmth persists even when the air outside bites with frost. It is a reminder that winter fosters interior worlds, not just physically, but emotionally. Footprints in the snow trace temporary records of human presence. Each step compresses the snow differently, depending on weight, gait, and intention. A hurried path looks different from a leisurely one. A child's footprints reveal a lighter, playful progression. An adult's stride conveys purpose or contemplation. Snow reveals personality and movement, the way walking becomes art. And eventually, wind or fresh snow erases these tracks, returning the ground to an unmarked state, teaching us that winter holds space for us, and then gently lets us go. And there are winter mornings when the world wakes beneath a pale, pearl-colored sky, a sky without sharp color, only smooth gradients of white and silver. On such mornings, everything seems softened. Edges blur, sounds dampen, and time feels thick. People move more slowly, voices seem quieter, and even the mind feels cushioned. In these muted dawns, winter becomes a meditation, made visible, a season that teaches us how to inhabit stillness, how to breathe lightly, how to simply be. There is a unique quiet that fills forests after heavy snowfall, a hush so complete that even one's own breathing feels audible. Snow absorbs not only external sound, but internal noise as well. When standing alone amidst blanketed trees, thoughts seem to slow and soften, as if they too are cushioned in white. It becomes a sensory paradox. One sees a world full of matter, yet hears almost nothing. This silence isn't void. It feels full and velvety, almost tangible, like a presence that gently presses against the ears. The forest becomes a cathedral of stillness, where the absence of sound becomes a kind of music, one composed entirely of quiet. In winter, the low position of the sun creates longer shadows throughout the day. These elongated shapes stretch like ribbons across the snow, creating a slow-moving artwork of dark and light. A fence post may cast a line that reaches across many meters. A child's footprint might leave a shadow longer than the body that made it. Observing the movement of these extended shadows throughout a winter afternoon reveals time in a visual form, minutes passing as shifting shapes rather than ticking numbers. Winter turns sunlight into a storyteller, whispering the hours across a pale landscape. When fine, powdery snow blows across the surface of older, crusted snow, it dances in serpentine currents, tiny clouds of crystalline dust gliding across the ground. These low snow whirls mimic fog or mist, but move faster, slipping over the surface like ghosts brushing the earth. Watching them feels hypnotic, like observing the breath of winter itself drifting across its own skin. They seem almost sentient in the way they navigate contours, swirling around obstacles and rising over small ridges with soft elegance. It is a dance of matter, made almost weightless, graceful, and fleeting. Winter also alters the night sky in ways beyond clarity. Certain constellations only appear during these months. Orion strides across the heavens, bold and bright, accompanied by Sirius, the dog star, which burns with extraordinary brilliance. The clarity of cold air enhances their presence, making them feel closer, more intimate. Gazing upward on a crisp winter night can feel like stepping into a time before electricity, before cities, a reminder that these same stars have watched humanity for all of history, shining through thousands of winters, unchanged and enduring. There's a special warmth that comes from winter light, indoors, sunlight passing through cold windows, filtering across floors, catching steam from cups of tea or the edges of blankets. This light is thin and pale, yet deeply comforting, as though its rarity amplifies its sweetness. People naturally gravitate toward these patches of illumination, sitting silently beside windows to bask in the momentary softness. Winter turns light into a luxury, something to be savored, appreciated, lingered in. Winter wind can create soft, eerie tones as it moves through branches, cracks, and edges a sound less like blowing and more like distant singing. It resonates through hollow twigs, around structures, through keyholes, producing notes that seem almost melodic. In older wooden houses, this wind song becomes part of the soundscape at night, a reminder of the world outside, moving and breathing. Even in silence, winter is never truly still. It hums quietly around us, like a whisper under the door. When snow melts slightly during the day and refreezes at night, it forms a thin crust across the surface. Walking upon it produces a crisp, distinct crunch, a sound so specific and satisfying that it can trigger nostalgic memories in those who know it well. It is the sound of childhood walks to school, of stepping into fresh snow at dawn, of wandering freely through winter fields. This crunch is a small but perfect winter sensation, tactile, auditory, and emotional all at once. Some winter mornings bring with them a faint shimmer, known as hoarfrost crystalline feathers, that grow outward from every exposed surface. Blades of grass become fringed in white ice. Fence wires appear fuzzy. Even spider webs transform into threads of frozen lace. Hoarfrost forms when water vapor freezes directly into ice on contact, arranging itself in structures that look impossibly delicate. To walk through a winter scene touched by hoarfrost is to enter a realm where ordinary objects become fairy tale forms, where winter's hand is revealed in microscopic intricacy. Snow can create an optical mirage called white horizon, where ground and sky blend together seamlessly, erasing the line between them. In such conditions, depth perception falters distances become ambiguous, and one can feel suspended in a world without boundaries. This effect is both humbling and mesmerizing, creating an experience of existing in pure space rather than landscape. It is a visual meditation, a moment when the world offers nothing to fix the eye upon, and thus gently invites the mind to release its habitual grasping. And there are winter evenings when firelight becomes the warm heartbeat of the home, flickering gently in a quiet room, reflecting off glass, glowing on walls, and drawing people close. The contrast between the cold blue world outside and the soft amber inside feels like a sanctuary, a return to human warmth in the midst of nature's slumber. Sitting beside a fire in winter is not just warmth, it is communion, memory, comfort, continuity. The flames carry a feeling older than words, a primal sense of safety and belonging. In the heart of winter, when snow covers everything, familiar places become transformed into realms of imagination. A simple street becomes a corridor through white silence. A backyard becomes a frozen meadow. A playground becomes an untouched plain. Familiar structures lose their usual edges and meanings. Fences look like gentle ridges, benches like snow-sculpted altars, cars like buried artifacts. This transformation softens emotional attachment to place, allowing the mind to wander and reinterpret what it sees. Winter reminds us that reality is not fixed. It can be reshaped by light, texture, and silence. Winter nights often carry a particular clarity of scent. Wood smoke from hidden chimneys, the clean sharpness of cold air, traces of pine sap frozen in stillness. Smell becomes memory, instantly summoning forgotten moments. Childhood winters, quiet evenings spent by a fire, distant holidays, long walks beneath falling snow. Scent in winter feels amplified, purified, almost sacred. It doesn't overwhelm, it lingers. The nose fills with the taste of quiet air, and the mind drifts gently through recollection. When temperature drops far below freezing, water vapor in the air can form tiny, sparkling crystals that hang suspended invisible until light catches them. These particles shimmer faintly, creating a halo of glittering points. Walking through such air feels like walking inside a snow globe, each breath disturbed slightly by tiny, floating diamonds of ice. These moments dissolve quickly, yet their memory persists. Winter, gifting a brief brush with magic. Human footsteps in snow create trails that gradually soften as falling flakes fill them, blurring the once sharp outlines. A road that was clearly traveled in the morning may look untouched by evening. Winter is a natural editor, gently erasing evidence of movement, smoothing away the rush of earlier hours. This slow removal feels merciful, a quiet forgiveness of haste, a reset of the world's surface. It teaches us that what seemed urgent fades, and that time itself is always smoothing the path behind us. Trees coated in rime ice appear as though sculpted from glass, of every twig outlined in translucent white, every branch shining like frozen lace. The forest in this state looks crystalline, fragile, elegant beyond belief. Walking beneath these trees, one senses profound delicacy, as if the world has entered a moment of exquisite vulnerability. A breeze causes the ice to tinkle faintly, producing a sound like tiny bells, the forest ringing softly in winter's breath. Frozen ponds and lakes become canvases of texture, some surfaces smooth as black mirrors, others patterned with fractures snow streaks, or bubbles frozen mid-rise. These bubbles often arrange in stacked lines, like beads or strings of pearls trapped beneath the ice. Looking down into them creates a strange sense of layered depth, as though staring into preserved time. The water beneath is utterly still, holding suspended records of motion that can no longer complete themselves. Winter influences human behavior in gentle ways. Conversations grow quieter, movements slower, gatherings more intimate. People often seek warmth, not just physically, but emotionally, choosing softer words, deeper moments of connection, longer silences shared with someone dear. The season invites companionship of a contemplative kind. Winter draws humanity inward, not only into homes, but into hearts. Cold air shapes sound differently, carrying it further and more purely. A dog barking many streets away may sound strangely close. Distant chimes may seem almost beside you. The winter atmosphere acts like a lens of acoustics, reframing distance through clarity. This creates a feeling of expanded awareness, as though the world has pulled its sounds closer, inviting you to notice things normally ignored. On snowy days, when clouds gather thickly, daylight becomes diffuse. No direct shadows, no strong beams, only a gentle, uniform brightness. This soft illumination makes the world feel like a bright dream. Boundaries less defined, contrast diminished, harshness removed. One could stand in an open field without squinting, simply absorbing the muted glow. Winter light becomes a velvet glow that caresses rather than strikes, soothing eyes and mind alike. And in the quietest winter moments, when wind stills, snow rests untouched, and the sky hangs pale and expressionless, one may experience a feeling of being at a center of stillness, not separate from the world, but gently held within it. A sensation that life continues beneath the surface, roots waiting, seeds sleeping, hearts beating, and that all of existence has paused together for a single long breath. Winter, in its deepest state, is not emptiness. It is universal, quiet presence. A place where time slows enough for us to finally hear the quiet that was always there. There is a quiet miracle in the way life persists beneath the frozen world, hidden in invisible pockets of warmth. Beneath the snow, small mammals build elaborate tunnels, running through insulated corridors where the temperature hovers just around freezing, even if the air above is bitterly cold. These snow tunnels become winter highways, safe passageways where predators rarely reach, where seeds are gathered and stored, where survival plays out in muffled spaces sheltered from wind. Thinking of these tiny lives moving beneath snowdrifts adds a layer of wonder to winter, a reminder that beneath silence there is life in soft motion, unseen but deeply present. Snowflakes landing on fabric or skin reveal astonishing geometric intricacy, each one a crystalline design shaped by temperature, humidity, and path through the sky. They appear briefly before melting small masterpieces that exist for only seconds. Winter becomes a season of transient beauty architecture that dissolves as quickly as it forms. When one stands still and observes a snowflake closely, it feels like witnessing nature's fleeting perfection, symmetry gifted, then released. When temperatures rise just enough for snow to melt slightly, a fine layer of moisture forms on its surface. Then, as cold returns, that moisture refreezes into a thin film of ice, giving the snow an almost metallic sheen. Walking through such fields produces a subtle sparkle, as though thousands of tiny mirrors have been laid across the earth. It becomes difficult not to pause and simply watch sunlight or moonlight flicker across the frozen plain, a soft shimmer that evokes quiet awe. Winter teaches the art of waiting. Seeds lie dormant in frozen ground, roots hold steady, animals conserve, humans slow down. Nothing has stopped. Everything is preparing. Beneath the stillness lies a quiet hum of stored energy, of potential that will awaken in its time. Winter suggests that rest is not emptiness, it is incubation, a gathering of quiet strength, a lesson that being still is its own form of becoming. Some nights in winter bring snow so fine and powdery that it resembles sifted flour, sprinkled gently from above. Walking through such snowfall feels like passing through weightless dust, flakes too small to land with presence, too delicate to accumulate quickly. It is snowfall, designed for contemplation rather than transformation. Snow that invites reflection rather than movement. It seems to whisper rather than fall. In winter, animals leave clearer signatures of presence. A fox prints small, neat patterns across a meadow. A rabbit leaves a distinctive figure-8 track. A bird hops in tiny dotted trails before taking flight again. Reading these tracks feels like reading poetry, written in white, brief lines of narrative that tell a story of motion and instinct. Winter turns the earth into a page upon which the language of animal life can be briefly read. The stillness of frozen rivers and lakes can create an illusion of time paused, as though movement itself has stopped. Water, which normally rushes or ripples, becomes fixed in perfect glass. Gazing into this frozen surface can feel like gazing into preserved memory, a quiet reflection of the sky above, mirroring clouds, stars, or bare branches with calm fidelity. It is a temporary mirror that winter lifts into existence. In winter twilight, that narrow band of time between sunset and full night, the world often shifts into tones of lavender and pale sapphire. Snow grows bluish, shadows soften, and the sky carries a calming hue that seems neither day nor night. This twilight feels like a deep exhale, the earth releasing daylight, easing into the embrace of evening. It is a moment when the horizon holds a softness that settles gently on the heart. During deep winter, even the moonlight changes character. It reflects more intensely off snow, illuminating landscapes with a dim glow that feels ethereal. A moonlit snowy field is never truly dark. It radiates a soft luminosity that seems to come from the ground itself rather than above. Walking through such a scene evokes a feeling of stepping into a dream, where the world shines with pale silver light that lives between shadow and glow. And finally, winter offers a deep understanding of rest, not as defeat or absence, but as quiet renewal. It shows that the world needs cycles of stillness, that creation thrives when allowed to pause, that beauty can be born from restraint and slowness. Winter whispers that life is not always about growth or activity. Sometimes it is about holding space, conserving warmth, and trusting the slow return of light. It teaches that silence has its own wisdom, and that in the heart of quiet, something sacred awakens. As we reach the quiet end of our journey through winter's slow and peaceful world, allow the feeling of stillness to linger within you. Just as snow settles softly onto the earth, let calmness settle softly into your thoughts. Winter has shown us that silence is not emptiness, but fullness, a season where every pause holds meaning, where every breath carries peace, where even frozen landscapes are quietly alive beneath the surface. You are part of this cycle of rest, invited not to push, not to rush, but simply to be. Like a seed resting beneath the frost, you are allowed this moment of quiet renewal. Let your mind drift into that deep winter hush where worries become distant, where time slows, where the heart finds warmth in its own steady rhythm. Thank you for spending this quiet time with me here on The Sleepy Scientist. If this gentle journey brought you rest or comfort, I would be grateful if you subscribed, liked, or shared, not just for numbers, but because it helps guide others into the calm places you have just explored. You are part of a growing circle of quiet minds and tender hearts, seeking softness in a noisy world. Now release your thoughts, allow your breath to deepen, and drift slowly into sleep. May your dreams be calm, your night be warm, and your spirit find peace in the quiet embrace of winter. Good night.